Okay, so um, each of you are kind of in a different place with your careers. Some of you have a job that you already are looking at in particular. Some of you are looking for a job in a particular industry or a particular career function that you don't have, you're still prospecting. So for those of you who are still looking for a new job, a couple things. Social media is a great place to find job postings these days. I mentioned it a little bit in last session, but LinkedIn, if we just type in like accounting Bakersfield, enter, and then jobs, you can see who's hiring for accounting in Bakersfield. So University of Phoenix is actually hiring a faculty member. Wonderful company, needs a financial analyst and accounting. It's sort of accounting, sort of financial analysis. Accounting manager for Pinnacle Recruiting. That may be a headhunter position. It may be an actual accounting position. CFO, a little bit high for you guys to shoot for right now, but Kaiser Permanente is looking for a CEO or CFO. You can find a lot of listings for jobs in your career function or at a specific company just by typing in to LinkedIn and going to jobs in the upper left-hand corner and on the tabs. So if you just type whatever you're looking for here and hit jobs, a lot of postings in LinkedIn these days. Monster's good too. We also have a system here on campus called Handshake. How many people are familiar with Handshake? Okay, so for those of you who aren't, CSU, if you go to csu.bde.edu/CECE, that's the Career Center webpage. If you go there and hit Student Alumni, there's instructions on how to sign up for Handshake. And Handshake has all the jobs that are being recruited for on this campus. That's another great source of job opportunities. And then beyond that, if I go back to the slides here, identifying a network building target and prospecting for networking leads. Those are kind of related to each other. Sometimes you can't find job openings posted on LinkedIn or Handshake or Monster for the company that you really want to work for or for the function that you really want to work for. So in that case, I highly recommend that you search on LinkedIn for contacts at that company. Probably they'll be connected to me in some way. So ask me for an introduction and I can give it for you. The more people you connect to on LinkedIn, the more connections you're going to have access to. So make sure to connect to other people besides me on LinkedIn. That'll expand your network of people that can refer you to companies. So when you're trying to get into a specific company or a specific kind of job that you can't find job postings for, identify that company or that job posting phrase, type it into LinkedIn, and ask for referrals. If you can't find enough in LinkedIn, you're welcome to ask me personally as well. I have a lot of contacts in my personal folder that are not in LinkedIn yet, so I might be able to make some suggestions there too. So that's job searching and network building. Two other things I wanted to mention about network building here at the bottom. Building and maintaining a contact relationship, what's in it for them? So you have to make sure that you keep in mind what's in it for the contact that you're talking to. Sometimes they just may like interacting with students. I mean, being a grown up and having a job every day from 9 to 5 gets boring and like repetitive after a while. And sometimes it's just refreshing to talk to students. Sometimes they may get a referral bonus for referring you to get hired. They may be a family friend and doing it because of your parents. Maybe a friend of mine and are doing a favor for me. Make sure that you know what's in it for the contact and make sure that their needs are getting satisfied. And then building and maintaining a mentor relationship. Contacts are one thing that can refer you to other contacts or can tell you about job openings. That's one kind of networking. Another kind of networking that's important for you guys is to have mentors as well. And that's somebody who's really willing to sit down with you, have lunch once a month or once a quarter, talk for 2 or 3 hours, and you really tell them about your life goals and career goals and get their input and advice on where you're going. And really that all begins with an initial lunch and just being very open and direct about the fact that you're looking for a mentor, describing your life. Don't worry too much about hyping everything up. Just describe where you're at, describe where you want to go. And if you hit it off well in that initial lunch meeting, then I would suggest meeting once a month if you can, otherwise once a quarter. And everybody needs mentors, so I highly recommend having a couple that give you advice on your life and your career. Last slide here, job searching, network building, and the rule of 10. I talked a little bit about the rule of 10 before. If you want to get one job, you should apply for 10. If you want to find one networking contact, you should reach out to 10. There's 7 billion people on the planet, over 7 billion people on the planet. There's a contact for everybody out there. There's a job for everybody out there. There's a customer if you're trying to build your own business for every product out there. The problem is just finding them. So a lot of times it's like searching for a needle in a haystack, but know that whatever it is that you want to do with your career and your life, the opportunity's out there. The challenge is just finding it. And some of you, if you have more ambitious career goals or careers that are hard to get into, it may take a while longer to do the prospecting and find that needle, but eventually you will. Recognize and accept, this is related to the first point, recognize and accept that you'll probably need to touch. I call it touches. As a salesperson, if I send an email, if I leave a voicemail, if I leave my business card for somebody, if I meet somebody at a networking event, if I said leave a voicemail already, if I talk to them, any kind of interaction, it doesn't have to be an actual conversation. It could be an email sent, could be a brochure left. If you're looking for a new customer, could be a voicemail left to the hiring manager. You probably need or a call, an email sent, a message sent to a contact on LinkedIn. Any of those count as a touch. And in general, in your mind, if you want to find one new networking contact, you may have to send 10 LinkedIn messages. If you want to find one job, you may have to leave and send emails and do applications to 10 in order to find one that really is looking to hire you. And out of every one lead that you find in that initial prospecting, you probably have to have another 10 of those to make sure that you have a successful deal. So sometimes it's less, sometimes it's more, but just realize, especially if you're trying to get into a difficult field, or a challenging industry or a challenging type of profession, job description that's hard to get into. If you multiply 10 touches times 10 leads, that's 100 times that you need to reach out in order to finally be successful in finding that contact at Disney or finding that contact in the music business or whatever. Just realize ahead of time it may take 100 times for a harder. Some jobs it may just take 10, but it's important to realize the numbers that you may have to put up. Leverage social media association member lists, the other stuff here, Google, company websites. There's a lot of information you can gather about a company you're interested in or about a particular contact that you're talking to. You can go to their LinkedIn page. You can go to their Facebook page if you can find them on Facebook. You can learn a lot about a person before you ever talk to them because of technology the way it is today. So make sure that you do as much research as you can before reaching out to a contact so that the time that you actually spend talking with them or interacting with them, you're asking them questions that you can't otherwise find an answer to. So there's a lot of information out there. Make sure to do your homework. Document everything. I have an anecdote that I like to share for this point. When I was running my lead generation service, Market Driver, one of the two small businesses that I started, did I tell you guys about Market Driver or not? I don't think I did my personal background in this class. So Market Driver is a lead generation service. Basically, people would pay us a fixed fee, and we would make phone calls, send emails. We would do all the prospecting and give the customer a list of names of people that are willing to talk to them. So they don't have to talk to a cold contact. They're talking to somebody who already knows that they're going to be calling. And I had one customer who wanted contacts in public relations in Indianapolis. So I went to a database that called Reference USA. I pulled up a list of PR companies in Indianapolis, and I started calling them. And one of them it was Borshoff Johnson is the name of the company. And the contact's name was Eric Johnson. So it's one of the two partners of Borshoff Johnson. And I asked for him with the attendant that answered the phone, and she transferred me to his voicemail. And his voicemail said, hey, I'm out of town for 2 weeks on vacation. I'll be back September 23rd or whatever. And I made a note of the fact that he's on vacation. That may seem like, oh, well, it said the voicemail. He's never going to listen to it. He's never going to call it, but call me back. It's a wasted phone call. It's not a wasted phone call. I made a note to myself that he's on vacation. I called back in 2 weeks and asked how his vacation was and happened to get him on the phone. That opened up a little bit of conversation about his vacation. We became contacts. We eventually became friends. And not only was he a lead for my customer, he regularly guest lectures in my classes now. And that all started because I made a note of the fact that he was on vacation. So no piece of information is too small when you're reaching out and doing job searching and networking. And then finally, don't take rejection personally. You're going to hear no more than you hear yes. It's just part of reality. If you want to find a job that's worth finding, if you want to find a contact that's worth finding, if you start your own business and you want to find a customer that's worth finding, then you're going to hear no more times than you hear yes. And you just have to accept that and not get depressed about it as you go on. So that was what I did not finish last time about professional development plans. Any questions about that? Pretty straightforward. One other thing I want to do before we talk about professional development plans